Welcome back to the Fit Dad Club podcast. My name is Travis Jones. I'm here with Jason Barrett. How are you doing today, Jace?
I'm doing wonderful. I'm finally over the series of little sicknesses that Imi has decided to give me as a little gift. But sinuses are a lot more clear, But sun is sort of shining. Birds are chirping. Happy days. How about yourself, Trav?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Good to be back. Had a great family holiday last week and just ready to rock and roll for the back half of this year and kick some goals myself and also with the Fit Dad Club and make sure that everyone is feeling like they have their mojo to achieve anything they want. I think that's the big thing because all of us can achieve anything we want. All it takes is a bit of a mindset shift and then action, right? And then overcoming a lot of fucking obstacles. So it's understanding that, like, as you always say, Jay, it's like there's one certainty and that's randomness will happen. So we have to make sure we overcome the obstacles and the randomness along the way. And today we're going to talk about how basically the mind controls the body. We know that there's so many different strategies to lose weight, get fit, and achieve, the aesthetics that you want to achieve, get lean and gain muscle. And there's many different ways to skin a cat. Really, there's more optimal ways, is what we teach our guys. But a lot of the ways work, and they work because consistency over time, and consistency over time comes towards the mindset we're taking in approach to these strategies. I read sometimes. I read a little bit, and there's a couple of books that I was saying to Jace I really like, and there's a series of I think 8 books now from Darren Donnelly, and he talks in sports analogies, and each book is a different sporting genre, and he teaches lessons whilst talking about sports along the way. And I find they're super simple to read, they're quick, and I'm starting to read them to Jax, my son, because he's going through how to create the warrior mindset, like with his soccer, and how to not get negative and pessimistic, and just all that sort of stuff. And we read each night, and it's good to sometimes read Percy Jackson, but it's also good sometimes to read stuff to him that has an underlying message that he can reflect on, ruminate, and ask questions about. So that's what we're going to do today. There's a couple of different quotes from the book, and I think we just have to ask some questions. I think when you are reading any type of book, or you're listening to any type of podcast or YouTube or anything you're listening to, rather than just consuming the information, I think the best thing to always do is you have to reflect and go, how does this apply to me? And how can I implement different strategies like this into my life? Because often we are in the consumption game as society at the moment, and less of the implementation game. So I think when you're consuming stuff, you always want to write a couple of notes at the end of every book or end of every chapter or end of every podcast and go, well, what could I apply from that? Rather than just going to the next podcast and next podcast. Now, there's a quote that I like, and it's, your mind is the most powerful weapon that you have, and your self-image serves as its guide. Because we have our mind and we have our self-image, and the way we see ourselves obviously changes the way we look. So if you change your self-image, you will change your life. That's one of the most important truths that you will ever learn. So the self-image is the way we see ourselves and our ability to do or not to do certain things. You can have a self-image that you are big boned, that you can't follow a diet, that you don't like training, or you shouldn't train, or you're not good at training. You can have your self-image determines your confidence. How would you describe self-image, Jace?
Yeah, it's really just for me, a lot of the times it is the language that you use to describe yourself, the absolutes that you use from your past, from your history, from your your childhood and all that kind of stuff. Because I've just got a big appetite. I'm a big eater, like those kind of things. Like it's like, no, you're not a big eater. You are someone who chooses to eat big meals, right? Because of the way that it makes you feel, or because of the way that you were raised, or whatever. Like, a lot of us were raised on, you got to clean your plate. Don't leave any food because there's starving kids in Africa. I'm like, well, you're not fucking mailing them my scraps, so why does it matter if I eat it or not? They're going to be spoiled by the time they get there. So your self-image is a lot of times the way that you describe yourself and talk about yourself, and the questions that you ask yourself are usually framed in that way. And then as a result, your mind feeds you the answers. It's like, oh, I can't stick to a diet because I'm this person or I'm that person. And then your mind will naturally look for the reasons why you are that way, because your brain doesn't like to be wrong. So the more you tell yourself, I'm not a fit dad, I'm just, I'm this, I'm lazy, I'm that, oh, I struggle with motivation, the more your mind is going to look for evidence to justify that. Because your brain and mind doesn't deal with conflict very well. It doesn't deal with the idea of being told it's wrong. So it looks for the things that you choose to focus on. And if you're focusing on, oh, I'm all or nothing, and then you just write that off as a fact, it's like, well, no, you're not all or nothing. Guess what? There's probably some areas where you're not all or nothing. You're probably not all or nothing in your relationship, right? You're probably holding some kind of middle ground there. You're not completely fucking absent or all in loving, showering her with gifts and love and attention, which, hey, maybe you need a few more of those phases in your life. But you're not all or nothing. There's just some things that you struggle to adhere to for a long period of time, or some things that you overcommit to and then get burnt out on. And then as a result, you say, oh, I'm just all or nothing. There's so much more fucking nuance in life. I actually saw a reel the other day from this dude who was, I think he was struggling with multiple personality disorder, or like dissociative identity disorder, or whatever they call it these days. And he had a great one. He's like, oh, I suck at this. Or it was like, I'm a piece of shit. I haven't worked out in 3 days, or I haven't gone to the gym in 3 days. I'm a piece of shit. And then it's like, then he like pans over to the other version of himself. He's like, really? And he's like, yeah, okay. I haven't worked out for 3 days, and as a result, I'm feeling really low energy, and I'm reflecting on how working out makes me feel really good. And then it's like, and then it just keeps going down this rabbit hole of like him expanding on the language that he's actually using to describe himself. It's like, oh, it's not that I'm a piece of shit. It's like, I'm recognizing how important going to the gym is. And it's okay that I'm feeling low after not exercising, but it's not okay for me to like beat myself up about it and say that I am a piece of shit because I'm not. And it was just this really interesting reel that I saw. And that's kind of the whole idea, right? Like, if you use absolute language to describe yourself, you're going to fucking channel this negative energy towards yourself. And as a result, you're going to do less work, right? Rather than being a fit dad and an active person who can commit to diets long term. Because guess what? You've committed to a diet long term. You've been eating. That's a diet, right? It just hasn't been the most optimal diet for the fat loss results that you've been wanting. So congratulations, you committed to a diet long term. Let's just make some tweaks to that diet.
Mate, I completely agree. I think, you see what you want to see, because we have this like confirmation bias that, like you said, you don't want to be wrong. I reflect on a video I saw Tony Robbins, and probably before that Jim Rohn did, about, you're looking for a color in the room, and, they say they red. Do you want to talk about that? Do you remember that sort of video, Jace?
Yeah, it's ringing like a little bell at the back of my head. I can't 100% remember.
Yeah,
I vaguely remember it. Jim Rohn was a while ago for me.
Yeah. Basically, he talks about, he goes, I want you to look look around the room. I want you to tell me everything that you see red. And it's like, give you like 20 seconds. Look for red, look for red, look for red, look for red. And then he goes, okay, so how many blue things were there? Yeah. Right? And there's literally...
Right. So good.
And then we look around the room, and like people would then things that were burgundy, they would classify as red because they wanted to be right and they wanted more things. And like, so we often change our perception of things based on trying to be truthful to ourselves. And again, with Tony Robbins, he talks about, like the whole quote, where your focus goes, your energy flows and results show. So, if we're constantly focused on this self-image of us not being able to be disciplined, or not being able to follow something, or we're not a morning person so we don't have time, or we're just unenergetic, or we're big boned, or where fat obesity runs in my family, or anything you want to tell yourself, then your focus will go with that. And where your focus goes, we start to try and identify all the facts that we can see that then can help us argue that self-image. It's like, oh, look, my grandma, she had diabetes. Oh, look, that part of my family, he was obese as well. Oh, look, I was even overweight as a child at this point in time. So we start to like look at all these little facts that we can, pinpoint along the way that make us feel justified in our beliefs. Now, when we look at discipline, okay, people go, oh, I'm not disciplined. And all we need to start to do is we need to start to look at the facts that stack up against that. Well, you say you're not disciplined. Well, have you brushed your teeth for the last, 40 years of your life every single morning? I would say that, maybe you miss a morning, I don't know, once every month. I don't know. But I would say most people brush their teeth once or twice a day, years on end. Would you call that discipline? Would you call that discipline, Jace? Yeah?
I'd say that's pretty fucking consistent, pretty fucking disciplined.
So you are disciplined. You're disciplined at brushing your teeth. Why? You have to ask, why? Oh, because I don't want because I know that, the evidence is, if I brush my teeth, then my teeth, one, won't rot, fall out. Two, they'll be clean and more white, not yellow, because we don't want yellow teeth. There's all these little facts that in evidence, and it's and you believe so, you have such a certainty around the belief that if I brush my teeth, and I've been told by all the dentists tell me I have to do it. My parents told me I have to do it. There was people coming out to my school when I was at school telling me how to do it properly. There's all these facts over years and decades. And then I did brush my teeth and they haven't fallen out. Oh, okay. So I've got more facts. So I keep doing something, right? So because of all this evidence that you keep staying disciplined. So what we have to do is, a lot of the time we're not disciplined around something because we don't have enough facts stacked up against if I follow this diet, then, and I stay consistent for a long period of time, that I'll get the result that I want. We don't have enough facts backed up against that. And this is why sometimes going it by yourself is hard. And we have this self-image that shows you that I can't follow a diet for a long period of time because I always fall off because I am an all or nothing attitude, or I don't have energy for whatever reason. So our self-image is based off of all these incorrect facts that we have against ourselves that we've also built out over a period of time. So what we have to do is we need to slowly chip away with that incorrect statements that we create over time, and we need to replace those thoughts with new facts. And sometimes that means, okay, I need to have new skill acquisition. Okay, I need to have more support to get me going. I need to start smaller instead of trying to go 0 to hero. I need to have a diet that's more sustainable and a long-term point of view rather than something that's a quick fix. You don't do quick fixes for your teeth unless you've got them knocked out. Well, yeah, for sure. But most people, they just brush their teeth for the whole life, right? So I think it's something that we have to look at. It's an overtime, not an overnight thing. And then over time, your self-image will change. You're like, wow, I've done 10,000 steps for 365 days. People will say, the coach is I never thought I could do that. You might be doing 8,000 steps or 7,000 steps. It's irrelevant of the number, but all we're trying to do is we're trying to build up evidence, okay? And we're trying to create as much evidence as possible that you are a fit dad. And slowly you'll eradicate the evidence that you're a fat dad. And over time, your self-image will change.
It's like a belief or an identity. Identity comes from a really strongly held belief or conviction. And a strongly held belief or conviction starts as an idea. And it starts as something really small. And it starts as something oftentimes that wasn't, it wasn't from us to begin with. It started from our parents or an auntie or an uncle or some, trusted adult, the teacher. Oh, you're stupid. You're not good at learning. And then you just take that shit on board. And then again, it came from a trusted source. Then you started to look for evidence to support that. You started to look for evidence to support it because, they said it must be true. So I must be really not good at this, or I must be too talkative, or I must be too much, or I must be big boned or fat, or it's just genetic or whatever. Those ideas, the more you give them evidence, the stronger they become. And it's, as Trav's saying, it's because you're looking, hey, everything that's confirming, everything that's blue, everything that's red, show me everything that's red. You completely fucking miss everything else. You become blind to it. It's like that old video where it's can you see how many times they pass the basketball? Have you seen that one? Where they're they've got a big group for everyone who doesn't know, who's not watching the video podcast, I'll try and describe it as best as I can. A series of people basically walking in and out of frame, walking around a circle, passing a basketball to each other really subtly. And you've got to try and count how many times has the basketball been passed. And you try to count, it's 8 or 9 times or whatever. And then they're like, okay, cool, watch the video again. Don't try and count anything. And the dude in a fucking bear suit, like a panda suit, walks into the middle of the screen, dances around, and then walks out. And it was the exact same fucking video, but no one noticed it because I was so intently focused on how many times was the basketball passed. It's the same thing. The more you focus on shit, the more evidence you give to it, the more you kind of block out everything else, no matter how big or distracting or contrary it might be to what you were looking for. It's so important for you to, and this is I think a worthwhile exercise for any dad who's out there right now who's like, oh, I want to lose weight, but I'm struggling to get started, and I've started and stopped, and it just hasn't worked for me yet. That's probably still too positive of a language for them. Oh, it hasn't worked for me yet. That's the language you kind of want to use. But I want you to reflect, what are the immediate, I don't want to say excuses, but the immediate beliefs and identities and thoughts that come up for you when you think about getting started on a journey like this? When you think about getting into your health and fitness, start training, start, going on a diet or eating better, if we want to use better language, what comes up for you? Does it come up for you as like, oh, losing weight for me is hard. I've never broken down below this weight before. It's impossible. My metabolism's too slow. Like, what are some of the things that and I guess bigger, more identity-based ones as well? It's like, I'm all or nothing, so I just can't do it. I'm too busy. There's too much going on for me. All of that sort of the same old shit. It's like, I'm just too busy of a person to lose weight. So guess what? Losing weight often means doing less, like eating less food. That takes less time. It gives you more fucking time back in your day, so you can do it. Yay, we tick that box. But you're not too busy to make time for other shit. So what? Once you have that list and once you have a couple of those things, we want to start to challenge them. It's like, well, where is that not true in my life? As Trav's saying, where is the opposite of that true? Where have I been disciplined? Where have I not been all or nothing? Where have I succeeded? Where have I been 100 kilos before in the past? Or where have I committed to something and seen it through to the end? For a lot of guys, it's their fucking work and their businesses and their jobs. It's like, you've survived through, shit economic times and managed to build a business and managed to keep clients and make money and support your family. It's like, that's motivation, that's dedication. But as Trav said as well, like, you got to think of, well, why are you so motivated and dedicated to doing those things? And you want to apply some of those filters and some of those ideas to yourself, right? And to your health, because that's the missing link there. It's like, it's the same set of behaviors, but you haven't given it the same level of importance because it doesn't line up with your identity, right? So you want to look for those little internal conflicts and those little internal incongruencies, like, oh, no, I am disciplined. Just look outside of health and fitness. I am committed. Look outside of health and fitness. And it's like, okay, cool. Well, I've been committed. I have done these things before. So therefore, I can be a committed person. And that should be enough to give you confidence to go, I can fucking start. But for a lot of people, I think they believe the method or the journey is going to be it's got to be a certain way, or it's got to be too hard, or it's going to be too much. But it's like, look, if you told, an alien that you had to go to fucking work 8 hours a day, 9, 10 hours a day for some of you guys, even longer, even for, fly in, fly out weeks at a time without seeing that, you'd say, oh, that's pretty fucking hard. That's like, what is it? It's a third of your life that you're spending out, away from your family, doing stuff that for most people, they don't absolutely love doing. Fuck, that's pretty hard. I'd say you're pretty good at doing hard things. And you don't even have to do this one for the rest of your life. It's just for like, a couple months, and bang, then you're going to be feeling better. And then guess what? Work isn't going to feel as much of a slog. You're going to feel better in other areas too. So you can do hard things. You have done hard things. So it's really just kind of like being super reflective. And I think you were saying it a bit before, like, reflection is key here. Being able to look at yourself and go, this is really where I'm at right now.
And mate, so I think it's like, it's looking across the spectrum of your personality and trying to find the attributes that you need to succeed and showing that you do apply them in other areas so you can apply them here. I think that's a key thing. We all do hard things. It's just we don't do hard things in the realm that health and fitness, Fitspo, inspirational people. Yeah, maybe you didn't have a fucking ice bath for the last 4 years straight, right? Like, but you went to work for 12 hours a day, like, like in 50-degree heat in northern Western Australia, right? That's really bloody hard. You've been disciplined with brushing your teeth. Like, you've come back after loss and loss because obviously you talk to your wife and you lose a lot of arguments. And you keep showing up. So you've come back from losses as well. So it's like, there's all these different things that, you show up for in your life, and you have these attributes or character traits that you currently deploy. And all we have to do is go, well, I do deploy them here in these other aspects. So how can I apply them to my health and fitness? Okay, well, you probably, wherever you are in your job at the moment, maybe you try to grow into that area, and the level of skill was acquired over time. So it's the same with our health and fitness. We'll start with the basics, right? If you're doing 5,000 steps, do 7. Start small. And then you get a promotion. Okay, now I get to do 9,000 steps. You didn't rock up to work and all of a sudden you're managing 50 employees. No, because it would break you and you would fail, right? You start small, you learn your job, then you start to grow, then you have more responsibility. It's the same sort of thing. You don't want to go so far outside your comfort zone. It gives you anxiety, which then leads to procrastination and breakdown. Right? Also, you don't want to start too slow that it leads to boredom and then procrastination and then no results at all. So you have to find the middle ground, which is essentially called flow. I go, what's enough pressure that's going to move me forward fast enough that will get me results in a quick enough time that will then give me motivation. I think this is a key thing. And this is, again, why coaches are so important, because they can help you apply the right amount of pressure to the problem that you're currently facing with the right skill set for you, where you're at on your nutrition IQ or training journey, and allow you to then show you consistent results over a period of time that will continue to increase your motivation and then give you your promotion over those months to then allow you to take it to the next level, give you another skill set, another tool in your tool belt, that then you have those skills for the rest of your life, just like you would in your workplace as well. So I think if we start, it sounds counterintuitive. It's like start slow, be consistent, right? Yeah, like overnight sexy sounds great, but instead, how about we start slow, we make it consistent, we get achievable results over a period of time so we can hold them for a longer period of time. That sounds better to me, right? Like, because we don't want to lose, we don't want to have the before and then the after is fatter than the before, right? Like, which happens so often, like the real after is like, okay, now I have worse energy. I'm even more unhappy. And I've just proven to myself again, I can't stick to a diet. So I think we want results, and we want results for the rest of our life. And that only comes with skill acquisition and the ability to do something that is sustainable, and you're changing your self-image, right? Like, you're proving to yourself that you can be disciplined in your health and fitness. I think that is the biggest thing. And you need to start to stack up the wins in the column of discipline, because essentially discipline is a mental game. How can I be disciplined with my health and fitness? That's, you just have to ask yourself. And maybe it's just, I'm not going to eat takeaway between Monday and Friday. Maybe that's your starting point. Or I'm not going to binge drink. I'm only going to have, whenever I have alcohol, I'm only going to have 3 drinks. Maybe that is it. I don't know. But you do that for the next week or next 2 weeks, and then you add another layer. And then you add another layer, and you lose half a kilo a week. Then you'll keep losing as you continue to add the layers. 2 weeks in, I'm going from 5,000 to 7,000 steps. Oh, now 2 weeks later, I'm going to the gym 2 days a week. 2 weeks later, I'm eating more protein. I'm watching my calories. But you've layered these disciplines on top of each other. Then all of a sudden you wake up in 6 months' time, you're doing 10,000 steps a day. You're training 4 or 5 times a week. You're eating protein. You don't even crave the stuff you did anymore. You don't enjoy binge eating because it takes away from your training maybe the next day and how you feel with your kids and your energy levels, because you're not trying to cope with alcohol. You're coping in a different way, and you reserve those times maybe for a couple of times a year when you go out with your mates for birthdays or anniversaries or weddings or anything like that. But I think it's about, you don't change your self-image overnight. And there was another book called Psycho-Cybernetics. And mate, I read that book so many times. It is a tough read.
Sounds like it.
It is probably one of the best books out there. It was written in, I think, the 1940s. All those books that like Think and Grow Rich, and there's such great books that were written nearly 100 years ago now. And if you just read these books, they were fantastic. But they're written in such a way, it's like, fuck, 1, I need a thesaurus, and 2, I need...
one must question the perspicacity of one's intentions. And
mate. Oh, dude. And so I bought the book, I've read it multiple times, and I had to read it multiple times to actually take it in. And I was listening to the audio book as I'm reading that book, just so I can try and take the information in. I remember when I first read it. And, this was he was a plastic surgeon, Maxwell Maltz. I think he was a psychologist as well. And he was talking about self-image. And even when people like females they would do like, nose surgery, whatever that's called, like rhinoplasty. Yeah, rhinoplasty. They would do that, or they would do implants. I don't know. I think it was implants as well, maybe in the 60s. And he would do it, but they still had the same negative self-image. So they thought that if I changed my facial structure, then I would be happy. But they still saw themselves as ugly, right? They still saw themselves as, that whatever the attribute was. And it wasn't until the fact that he saw the fact that they need to change how they see themselves personally, it had nothing to do with the plastic surgery, that then they could actually start to be happy and start to change who they were. And it was all about self-image. And I find it so fascinating, the fact that, if we change the way we see ourselves, our whole lives change. And the way we see ourselves is, what we're capable of and who we can be. And I think that is the biggest thing, because if we change the thought process or the belief about what we are capable of, then we take the glass ceiling, that we smash through the glass ceiling. Right? We can achieve anything we want in life. And we often look at people who do achieve everything they want in life, and they're so lucky. They must have been given, the silver spoon or whatever it is, or they must have, great genetics, when often it's not that. They just believed in themselves and they had some support and accountability, and they dedicated themselves for a consistent long period of time. And that means you can too, right? If someone else has done it in your shoes, that means you can do it as well. So I think change your self-image and change your life. And I think the other one I wanted to quote, I wanted to talk about is like, people with confident, optimistic outlooks tend to succeed. People who are pessimistic, who lack confidence, tend to fail. Now, it's a very simple quote, but if people, but it's a true one, right? If you're pessimistic and negative about things and you lack confidence, then you're probably not going to follow through with things. Right? And you're going to fail, because we're not going to be consistent. But people who are confident with optimistic outlooks, they have belief in themselves, and belief with the process will work. If I keep continuing to do the process, they'll succeed. So my question is, how can you be more confident and optimistic? And that's the only thing. Like, if you can ask yourself every morning, how can I be more confident and optimistic today? And you just write a little answer to that, and then just like actually follow through with that plan, your life will dramatically change over the next 30 and 60 days, because you'll start stacking wins. Because again, like when we look at, the whole reticular activating system, what we have, we tend to see more of, right? So, one of the reasons why we do gratitude in the morning and the nighttime, especially when people are starting to change their life, is because, if we are negative, we see more negative things. So again, we get confirmation bias that the world is against me, and therefore I'm doomed to fail, right? It's like, oh, why does this happen to me? Like this is why is it always so hard for me and not for other people? We start to feel like the world is against us because we don't stop and have gratitude for what we do have, right? And if we start with gratitude in the morning and the night, then we start to see more gratitude and we start to live with more grace throughout the day. Because again, we have a heightened awareness for this level of gratitude, because we're bringing it to front of mind. And when things are front of mind, we start to see more of them. So I think for us, if we lead with gratitude and we start to see more great things, then we start to become more optimistic. And if we then start small and we stack wins, which is why I'm a big proponent, I really believe in stacking wins, right? Because I do, whether it starts small and stack wins, because winners win, right? And if you constantly go, again, from zero to hero and you're stacking losses, then you feel like a loser and you become more pessimistic, right? So that's why they call it a winning streak. We want to get you on as long of a winning streak as possible. And then if you reflect back every 30 days and you had 22 wins out of 30 days, dude, you're a fucking winner, and you'll have the results following that. And then I'm going to try and win 24 days out of 30 next month. And then you become more of a winner. And all of a sudden, our personality or our self-image is that of a winner. So all I ask you guys is how can I be more confident and optimistic with my health and fitness? Who do I need to be? Who do I need to be around? And what do I need to learn? And who needs to help me, right? Ask these questions, because if you can be more confident and optimistic with your health and fitness, right, you'll fucking follow through.
The amount of my guys that when I've laid out the actual sort of timeline in terms of, all right, our goal is to lose around 1% of body weight a week. And we're usually happy if it's somewhere between 0.5 and 1.5% of body weight. That's like the band on average, right? If it's sitting at 0.5 a bit too long, we'll make some changes. If it's sitting at 1.5 a bit too long, we'll probably lose a bit too much muscle. But yeah, results are results. And so sometimes people lose, they kind of, they can't see the forest for the trees. And they get so caught up in the number on the day-to-day. It's like, oh, fuck, yesterday I was like, 98.3 and today I'm 99.1. Fuck, I've gone back up. It's like, hey, bro, last week you were 100.1. We're down a kilo this week. Like if we look at the average, or even sometimes they get out of groove with that. And I'm like, look, let me calculate the average of last week. Cool, the average of last week and the average of this week, which is the real metric that matters, because you're going to get ups and downs. You're going to get high days and low days. It's just the nature of the beast with weight. It's not some consecutive downward step every single day. It's the weekly and overall as well, like the monthly average. It's like, all right, cool. We're down like 1.5 kilos, which is more than 1% of body weight a week. We're right in the fucking pocket. They're like, oh, really? Like, yeah. 100%. Just because the last 3 days have hovered around 99, oh fuck, I really want to get into the 98. So it's like last week you were in the hundreds, man. Let's like fucking celebrate the progress. And sometimes like I have to kind of pull them up on this, be like, this is really fucking good stuff. Like we are absolutely smashing it. And sometimes guys will kind of get like jaded because the process isn't as hard as they expect it to be. And they'll be like, oh, I feel like, and I've even had some guys get sort of pissed off at me. Like, oh, how come we're not doing more? I'm like, we've been getting the exact result we've needed to. Why do we need to do more? Like, why do we need to, have a fucking phone conversation every week for me to be like, you're nailing it. You're getting the result. You're doing everything you need to do. Let's keep this up, right? Why do we need to change the workout plan if the workout plan is fucking working? Why do we need to change the food if the food is working? Oh, I thought you'd tell me what things to eat more. I'm like, yeah, why would I tell you? With the things that you're already eating are getting you the fucking result, and that's already within your normal way of living, right? And this is why it's like, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, needs to be the approach. But there are some guys who want to get in their own way so much. It's like, well, your goal is to lose the body fat, and you're fucking losing the body fat. That's ultimately the goal, and you're doing it with a process that is simple and is easy. But for some people, they think it needs to be harder than it is, and some people think it's going to be harder than it really is. And that's why they lack the discipline in the first place, right? They already, and to be honest, when I was training for the high rocks before I hurt my back and started focusing on the rehab of that so I don't, end up fucking bedridden on the couch for 2 weeks again with a newborn, the biggest thing for me was like, oh fuck yeah, that is going to be really hard. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. Oh, this training for this is going to be hard. And I'm like, I'm just going to take it one step at a time, one workout at a time, trying to improve on those little steps, one bit at a time. And that's the biggest thing when it comes to discipline. It's like when you think about doing and like being optimistic about the process, it's not about fucking staring at the top of the mountain going, oh, how can I make it all the way up there? Of course you don't know how you're going to make it up there. You're at base camp right now. You're not even at base camp. You're at you just landed at the airport and you just flew past it. You're like, holy shit, that's a big mountain, right? But by focusing on what can I do in this moment, and I guess this is a big thing for me when it comes to optimism, when it comes to confidence, is bringing it back to this moment now and what can you do? I've got guys who injure themselves and they get so focused on, oh, fuck, I can't train, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's like, cool, well, what can you do? What can you do? All right, I can go for... One of my guys just came to me. He's like, I'm going to train legs because he hurt his collarbone playing footy. He's like, all right, I'm going to train legs 3 times this week. I'm going to focus on 3 times more a week than most of you guys listening are training them. But he's going to train legs 3 times a week. He's going to do some isolation stuff. He's going to work on his calves. And that's it. And it's like, cool, that's what I'm going to do because that's what I can do. And by focusing on what you can do, you make yourself a hell of a lot more optimistic. So, I mean, for me, when it comes to optimism, when it comes to confidence, the three areas of focus and where your focus is going, right? We talked about this with your identity and your mindset, but where your focus goes, your energy flows, your results show. But you can either focus on what you have or what you don't have. You focus on what you can control and what you can't control, or you focus on the past, the present, or the future. Those are like the three lenses of your focus, the 3 different sort of areas of focus. You can focus on, the past and what you can't control and what you don't have. And yeah, that's a recipe for feeling depressed, right? You can focus on the future and what you can't control. And that's a recipe for anxiety. If you focus on the present, what you can do and what you do have, that's a recipe for peace and confidence and optimism, because where your focus is going is well, what can I do about it, right? There's that quote. It's like, Lord, give me the the strength to change the things I can't accept, the courage to accept the things I can't change, and the wisdom to know the difference, or whatever. Like I can't remember which one goes where, but knowing the difference between what you can and can't control, and just accepting the shit that is out of your control, like the randomness we've spoken about, and putting your energy into what you can do. That is the recipe for me for optimism. Right? And that's what I get every fucking week talking to Trav when he's dealt with some random bullshit going on in life or another. It's just like, fucking, what can I do? All right, I'm going to book a doctor's appointment. I'm going to fucking do this thing. I'm going to do some rehab, or I'm going to fucking focus on this. And it's like, it's always the relentless optimism of, well, what can I do? Because dwelling on what you can't do doesn't fucking help anyone.
Dude, I completely agree. And like for me personally, with my health and fitness, this last year for me has probably been the hardest out of all of my years, dealing with random infections or injuries and stuff. And I think you just keep focusing on what you can control. And I think about one of my guys, Mark, he's had 2 surgeries over the time, knee surgeries, both different knees, over the time I've trained him, because he used to run marathons and he had a lot of wear and tear. And all we do is, okay, well, he doesn't want to not train because we lost weight and we want to try and keep the weight off and feel good. So it's like, okay, knee surgery, you get to rest for a week. And then he goes, I still like to do the cardio. So he has an assault bike at home. So we get his legs up on the pins and he does upper body assault bike cardio for 30 minutes, a couple of times a week. So instead of all the things he can't do, because he does love running, we do have that in there when he gets back to it. He does love doing the lower body stuff, but it's like, if we can't do it, and we just focus on all the things we can't do, of course he's going to feel bad and feels like he's missing out. But then we go, well, if we can do some upper body, we can do the curls, okay, we can do the tricep pushdowns, we can do the things he can do, okay, then you can still feel good. Because, I think, if there's 100% and we're like, we 0 to 100%, we always want to give 100%. But if you only can give 60% today, then you give that 60%, you still gave 100%. I think that's what we don't understand. We gave 100% of the ability that we can actually do today. So when I look at that, that's because like all of us can't control everything. But if we just try and control the things we can control, and we're a 6 out of 10 today because we're sick or we don't have the energy or whatever it is, but you gave the full capacity that you have to do today, you have to pat yourself on the back and say, you won today. Good work. And then tomorrow you might be an 8 out of 10. You might get back to 10 out of 10. You give that whole 10 out of 10. I think that is a big thing. And coming back to what you were saying before, it's like, yeah, a lot of people do want it to be harder, but, because they come into the program, it's like, oh, this seems pretty simple. It's like, yeah, it is pretty simple, but you weren't doing it. And now the simple works, because if we make it too complex, then that won't work either. And we only increase the complexity when the complexity needs to be increased, right? So it can be as hard as it needs to be when it needs to be hard. And it can be as simple as it needs to be when it needs to be simple. And I think that's what you have to understand with fat loss. Weight loss at the end of the day is quite simple, and you can eat all the foods you enjoy. And, what we're looking at is we're looking at energy balance and making sure we're in a negative energy balance to make sure we're losing weight based on the food you're eating and the energy you're burning. Now, as you're moving past weight loss, so maybe you're getting to the final digits of body fat, yeah, for sure, things need to be more nuanced with our carbohydrates or maybe nutrient timing. One of my boys just did High Rocks in Melbourne at the end of June. He got like an hour and I think 3 minutes, I think it was, and he was like 4th. Okay. Like he was again, like, man, he crushed it. He dropped like 15 kilos. And we raised his calories back up. So he's like carb full. I looked at him. I was like, dude, you're jacked. You're just super pale. Go get a tan. I was like, go tell your missus to give you a spray tan. And he said, okay, because we won, we did better than he ever thought he could have. He felt better than he ever thought he could have. And he's like, I'm going to do Brisbane. And then, more nuanced now, okay? We looked at High Rocks, what was his times in the specific areas of his event, and where in the 7 weeks between Melbourne and Brisbane can we shave the time off? We have to clearly be nuanced now. And we go, okay, well, your running times were like an average of 4 minutes, I think it was 4:30 per K on your 8 runs. We want to try and get that down to 4:10s. Okay, so our training needs to be focused around that, and then we'll shave like 2 minutes off your time in 7 weeks. So our training is we've pulled back on one of his strength workouts, we've added in sprint training in there, and we've focused on transitions with his High Rocks events, going from run to row or run to his ski erg. Now, that's super fucking nuanced, right? because but we only need to make things harder and nuanced when they need to be harder. If I had done that at the start, when you first started training with us, it'd be like, dude, what the hell are we doing? This is so complex. I have no idea what I'm doing. But his nutrition's already dialed in now. His training is already a habit now. He believes he can do things now. And all he's trying to do is finesse, rather than like, you know, when we're trying to create a sculpture, right? And you've got this big block of clay. We're not trying to make massive carvings off the block. Okay, all we do is like right now is just have a little chisel. It's just like little finessing to make sure we're getting the final touches of this masterpiece that is his Hyrox games. So I think again, at the start and always, we want to try and put in the minimal viable effort needed. Like, yeah, sure. Okay, now we're doing like, 5-10 kilometer runs a week and we're doing this and that. It's like, dude, you're a dad with a business, right? Like, let's get better within the constraints that we have, right? You could be a shit dad and not a business and cool. Let's train 3 times a day and we'll probably get like 58 minutes. But us to get into an hour with the constraints he has whilst being a great dad, great partner and business owner, cool. That's all right. We shaved off what we can with the time dedicated and we train like 5 days a week and we're doing it and we're getting the results. So we always look for minimal viable effort to achieve the result needed. And the minimal viable effort at the start is quite minimal because you were really shit before you came to us. You were binge drinking, eating crap and not moving at all. So to get you out of that, small improvements. And then all of a sudden, 30 days in, minimal viable effort has to increase, small improvements again. Because if we make it too hard too fast, we're using the tools needed too early, which means we're going to essentially hit plateaus faster. So everything we do is for a reason. And yes, we want to make small changes to get the result required or result desired. And then we continue to make small changes. And I think if you have that, that gives us the optimism and confidence that we need to succeed. And coming back to the quote that we were talking about at the start. So guys, don't make it too hard because that will make you fail, make you fall off the plan too quickly, which will then give you more pessimistic outlook and you'll lack confidence in your ability to change. But if you make it easy, if you're currently doing 5,000 steps and you go, now I'm just going to do 6,000 steps and I do that for 7 days, tick, 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 stacking up the wins. Fuck yeah, man, I'm a winner. Okay, well, let's push it to 6.5. Let's push it to 7. Can I win that game? Yes, you can. Let's do it. And all of a sudden, you gain confidence because you actually followed through and did what you said you were going to do. Because that's what confidence is built from. Doing what you said you were going to do. When no one is watching, because that's when it truly counts. But 2, repeatedly over time. Because if we can follow through with our word and our self-integrity, because that's all it is. And if we increase our self-respect and self-integrity by being disciplined with our word that we say to ourselves, over a period of time, our confidence increases. It's not what someone else says to you, it's what you say to you. And you actually following through with that. And you're like, yeah, man, I'm a fucking winner because I do what I say I'm going to do. Don't say you're going to get up 4 a.m. and press snooze for the next fucking month because that makes you lack confidence, all right? Say you're going to get up at 5 a.m. if you are. Oh, but that means I only work out for 15 minutes. It's like, yeah, but if you actually fucking do it, it's better than working out not at all. And also losing. We want to win the game, not lose the game. And all of a sudden, if you start the day as a loser because you didn't follow through with the first thing you said, you're setting yourself up on a negative light or a negative tone. And we want to try and set ourselves up as a winner from the get-go every single day. And then you'll believe in yourself even more. And then slowly, maybe if you need to get a half-hour workout in and you need to pull it back to 4:45 a.m., you believe you can. And it's not going to be as hard because you've already done the last 3 weeks at 5 a.m., right? Like, you just need to stack the fucking wins, guys. And that's how you build this unstoppable confidence inside yourself. And once you have this unstoppable confidence, you can achieve anything. You can.
Yeah, 100%. And it just starts, as Trav said, with stacking those wins. It starts with a vote of confidence in yourself and just not setting the bar so high that you can't jump over it and not setting the bar so unnecessarily high. And if you need to know where to set the bar for you to get started with in order to still get results, then that's what we're here for, right? We've got the podcast, we've got the groups, we've got the program. If you want to become a Fit Dad, right? Join the Fit Dad Club. Go to fit-dad.club and we'll have a call. We'll have a chat about where you are right now. What are sort of the immediate things you can do to get you to where you want to be, and we'll scale that up with you. It's a tailored approach. It's not this, one size fits all. Fuck, everyone's just got to cut out carbs and then you get the result. It's like, well, that's not realistic for everyone, right? So you've got to know what the tailored approach is in order for you to start to get the results that you need. And it's got to start with, well, what are your constraints? What are your issues? What are your challenges? Well, let's just start to say, hey, look, man, I believe in you. We can fucking make this happen. I'm in your corner. I need you to be in your corner as well.
100%, mate. And guys, that will be it for the podcast today, because I feel like you, again, listen to the podcast and go, okay, well, what can I apply from this today? If I had to apply one thing, what would it be? Literally, just write that. If I had to apply one thing from the podcast today, what would it be? Write it down, apply it for the next 7 days. And when you start to see your optimism and your confidence start to increase, leave us a review. Rate the podcast. Say, hey, that was really good. I start to feel better. I start to feel like a winner again. Start stacking wins, because we're in your corner. I want you to be in your corner as well. So go to fit-dad.club if you want to book in to have a chat with us, or how we can change your life and, really be in your corner to change your life in a one-on-one format, so we can keep you accountable and we can be your cheerleader, but also your coach, but also the person that tells you the truth. Right? Because sometimes you need that as well, to slap you around a little bit. And leave us a review, rate the podcast, and share it with another dad, guys. But other than that, we will see you next week. As always, Jace, it was fun chatting with you,
No
mate.
worries, man. Peace out.